Hello and welcome back. Apologize for not posting anything here recently. We moved back in November. It was quite a bit, and then the holidays. I was a little bit busy, so I apologize for not following up on my last video back way in October. Anyway, so a lot's happened about the market, what's going on, and I'll tell you, it's not as bad as everybody says, or not at least the ones that say it's bad. I mean, not everybody's saying it's terrible, but the market's not bad. We're still very busy. They're staying on the market longer. We're going to see at least some stats here. Let's just turn over here to the map right quick, or the screen. What this is our statistical analysis module. And what I've done is I've chosen Charlotte area. There are other areas I can do. I can do the Asheville region, Catawba Valley, Charlotte region, Charlotte multiple listing service. I think you can go down, narrow it down just to Charlotte. And this is just the Charlotte region. These are just the areas around Charlotte, the counties around Charlotte. Now, so these are live data, and it's far enough past the 1st of January to at least have all of December numbers in that are going to be in. So the first thing we're going to look at is in the Charlotte metro area or region, we currently have 5,833 homes. Cannot talk this morning, for sale. That's down a little bit from what we had all the way back in October and September, and that's when the rates really spiked up and kind of hung tight for a little while. As you've noticed, the rates are starting to come down a little bit. They're around what, 6.25 now? And for those of you who really paid attention only in the past couple of years, that's high. But historically it's not high. And I'm going to use that information later and give you some good information about what you can do in the market. So right now, 5,833 homes listed for sale. We're going to switch over to new listings. And again, just looking at this map, we are down new listings in the month of December, 2,066. That's the lowest it's been as far back as I go, all the way back to January 2017. So what's going on in the news, the market, and I think some perception is really causing this listing number to be that low. The rates haven't been this high in 5 years. So it's a little bit of a shock value for people to have to get used to. And once they do, I really think it's going to turn back around. But I'm going to give you my opinion here at the end. So right now we're the lowest we've ever been, 2,066 new listings in the month of December. And the closed sales we had, I showed you that. No, I didn't show you this one. So in Charlotte, the Charlotte region, we had 2,671 homes closed in December. We sold that many. That's the fewest since all the way back to January 2019. Now, if you look at the entire map, January and December, they're the lowest numbers. So there's really not much to tell yet, because you got January 2022 is the lowest. December 2022's dipped down pretty good. And you look all the way around January and December. So when you look at this, the December numbers, the January numbers may even be lower than this. But again, all is not lost. It's kind of recovering from last year. Last year was a bit of a wild show for those of you who are in the market. So closed sales, they're down a little bit, more so than they have been since again, I said back in 2019. Before the pandemic. BP, we can say BP, before the pandemic. But it's still cyclical. It comes down in the winter months. It always does, and starts back up in February or March. And you're going to see that as time goes. And I do apologize if this is boring. I geek out on these numbers. So you may have to speed up through some of this if you want. I don't know. Or you can even leave comments below telling me what I can do to make it more interesting. Because I'm a nerd about these numbers, and I like it. But not everybody does. They want the info, but they don't want all the geek out numbers. So I'll try to keep it as interesting as possible. So, and looking at all this, we're looking at all single family homes. There's land and condos and everything in there too. I just chose single family homes, not even condos or townhomes. There's not that many being sold. There's a significant amount, but not enough to make a huge difference in what we're doing here. If you want to know more about single family, or condos and townhomes, I can definitely throw up a video for that. You just let me know. So here's the big telling number in the market right now. and it's days on market. And if you notice way over here to the right, December 2022, again, this is the last full month of data that we have right now, and 22 days on the market. That's still really, really good, even though it's higher than what we used to. Because if you look back from June 2022 all the way back to maybe June of 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, or right as it started, the days on market weren't that high. And the last time they were this high was January of 2020, right before BD, before BP, before pandemic. So we're getting back to normal. But normal for us in the Charlotte area prior to the pandemic is still a seller's market. 22 days on the market's nothing. I mean, if you remember buying or selling a home, for those of you that tried to do that before the pandemic, we had a supply issue back then, and we still have one today. So that's not changed that much, and so these numbers aren't staggering. What you see in these bottom, this line right here from, let's see, back to January or April 2020 all the way, these numbers down here, that's right in the middle of the pandemic when things were going wild. And as you know, even if you didn't buy or sell a house, you saw the news. Prices were crazy. The market was crazy. It's not as crazy anymore, but it's still a strong seller's market. And I'm going to go more into that detail on that later. Okay, sales price. I'm going to do that last because I think that's what everybody wants to know, the biggest one. A couple other things. I'm not going to make this a long video today. One here, month supply. This tells us a lot. Month supply is, if we never take another listing past today, how long will it take before we sell all the houses on the market today? And if you look at our handy dandy chart, we have 1.7 months of supply. The highest we've had in the past couple of years is 2.1 months of supply, and that was back in October, and that's right when the rates almost hit their peak. Now, a seller's market is anything less than 4, maybe 5 months or less of supply. That's going to be at the end of a seller's market. 6, 7, 8 and above, that's when you're in a buyer's market. So you can see we are far, far below a seller's market. I mean, a buyer's market right now. It may not seem like it's a seller's market, but it still is. Interest rates are lower, a little bit lower than they were back in November, but things are still really strong in the real estate market. All this to say, we are not in a seller or buyer's market, and we're not crashing. As you can see, the numbers were starting to kind of pull out of that little dip, but we have the same dip every single year. I'll show you that in a few minutes. So then the big one, and then we'll wrap this up, but the big deal right here is sales price. Now, I crunch these numbers. Everybody can crunch these numbers so many different ways. What I chose, if you look back over here at the chart, I chose the Charlotte region. All price ranges, single family homes, all sales type, traditional, short sale, foreclosure, all bedrooms, and all properties, resale or new construction, all sizes, all waterfront types, and all acreage sizes. This gives you kind of a really good idea. And the median sales price of homes in Charlotte for the month of December is $380,000. Still pretty strong, and it's up 5.6% from a year ago. Now, that's still significant. That's almost what it is normally. Normally, it's around 3.5–4% a year of a price appreciation. We're getting down to that now where it's almost normal. But that doesn't mean the market's crashing. All that means is we're receding back a little bit from these high prices back over the summer. What is going to happen, what I really think is going to happen, interest rates are going to start coming down. And all that demand that you saw back in the summer when it kind of peeled back a little bit, when the interest rates started going up, that demand is still there. They're kind of waiting and seeing. What's going to happen, I think, is the rates are going to normalize. They may drop down a little bit more here or there, but people are going to get to the point where it's like, okay, 6% is not awful. We can always refinance. And you'll hear this term, I'll say it a lot, and I'm sure other people will too. You marry that house, but you date the rate. And for those of you who don't really know what that means is you're in it to win it for the house, but the rate, you can always change that later. You know, just like dating a girlfriend. It's not completely serious until you put a ring on her finger. So you just date the rate. Well, the rate's going to come back down, and don't believe anybody tells you it's not, because historically it's always come back down. Historically it's been around 6%. I think it's going to go down again, even more below 6%. That could be wishful thinking, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. So, but if you notice, I'm going to shrink this down. I looked at a 5-year span. Let's look at a 3-year span. It's a little easier to condense. Here in December 2022, you're thinking, oh, the prices have dropped, because all the way back in June, the highest point was 412,000. But we had to come pretty far down from that. But if you look, you go to the lower point right here is January 2022, 357, in December was 360. So it dipped. It dipped a little bit in December and January. And we go back, and this one, December 20th and 21st, or in January 2021, didn't really dip that much, just slightly. But this was kind of in the middle of the pandemic, right before it got really wild. And then if we go back to, back to January 2022, you're going to see another dip. So prices dipping right now is normal. It's historically happened that way for ages. It's a little bit of seasonality you got to worry about or think about, but that's it. So what this means for you, if you're a seller and you price your home appropriately to what's going on in the market, you're still going to make good money and you're still going to sell it in an appropriate time. If you're a buyer, here's the good thing. If you've been on the sidelines, especially last year because the rate or the prices were just gigantically high, now there's not that much competition. I mean, there's still multiple offers on properties. There are. But it's not like it was back in the spring. Nothing has been like that. I've been able to negotiate down prices, several $1,000s on prices here recently for homes. And buyers are starting to pay, or sellers are starting to pay closing costs. So if you're a buyer, listen up. Call your agent. Start really looking at the market hard and heavy, because things are changing and it's going to be a little bit easier for buyers, but it's not going to be that way for long. Because again, I'm going to put out a video. I've been trying to put it together for a long time. There's 5 factors that are going to keep the prices from dropping like it did in 2008. And if you look at this screenshot here, we are nowhere near what was going on back 15 years ago in 2008. You can look at all the numbers and everything that you see. There's nothing to indicate that we're in any more trouble than we have been. I mean, job cuts, the last housing crisis was 8 million. We've had technically none so far this year. Total jobs in a household, we got 20 million more jobs per household, in the household survey than we did in 2015. Subprime loans, they were the hot ticket. I used to be a lender. I did a few of those. Money was made by the bank, but then we lost it all when the foreclosures happened. Virtually no subprime loans now. There's a couple, but not many. They've really changed that, and I don't think that's going to be much of a danger right now. New construction, the last housing cycle, we had 7.65 million in the past 5 years. In the past 5 years, in the current cycle, 4.6 million. So we're even down from like 3 million from normal prior to that. So we're still short on inventory. I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I go all the way crazy. The inventory on the market last year was 3.8 to 4 million houses on the market. This year, 1 to 1.2 million. So it's nothing like it was before. And the big deals are the last two. Mortgage delinquency, we had 10% mortgage delinquency in 2008. We have 3.6 now in the current cycle, which is kind of normal. I think it's between 3 and 4%, which is normal. So nothing really to see here either. And finally, homes in foreclosure, we're 4% less than what we were in 2008. Meaning The foreclosures are still typical, but there's not that many going on right now. For the main reason, as long as the house is in somewhat livable shape, there's enough equity you won't have to lose money. Sell on the market. So we are not in any kind of crash or cycle that we were before. I feel like a broken record. But these numbers ought to tell you we're good right now. The market's good. And if you're a buyer, I can't tell you this enough, I can't stress this enough. If you're a buyer, now is the time to start looking. Grab your agent, call him up, start looking at stuff, start talking to your lender, because rates have come down and that demand's out there. And I don't think we're going to see another spring of 2022, but we're going to see another hot seller's market. We're technically in one now. May not feel like it, but first of the year's over. You know, the end of the year, everything kind of slows down anyway a little bit. Look to see things start ticking up in the next few months, and I'll be here to show you and cover all of it. So if you have questions, throw them down in the comments, and I'm going to start putting these videos out weekly. So, you know, if you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell. That way you'll notify when I post a new one, and you can stay up to date. And again, finally, if I can make this more interesting and more exciting, I'm open to ideas. So throw them down there in the comments, and let's have fun, man. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.